The people fear what they don't understand. And nothing is more intimidating than a mind that cannot be manipulated. A mind so focused, so disciplined, so untouchable, it shakes the room without ever raising its voice. If they can't control your mind, they can't control your life. In a world where fear controls decisions and weakness is normalized, building a strong mind is not just survival, it's warfare. The battlefield is in your thoughts. The enemy is doubt. And victory belongs to the disciplined. This video will teach you how to build a mind so unshakable, it doesn't just survive opposition, it silences it. Listen to me. You were not born to be average. You were not designed to bend at every pressure. God gave you a mind not just to think, but to lead. But if your mind is weak, your life will follow. Let's dive into the 5 pillars that build a mind so strong it scares people. Protect the gate of your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Your thoughts shape your actions create your habits, and your habits determine your destiny. The mind is not a playground for chaos, it is a battlefield for purpose. And whoever controls the battlefield controls the outcome. You cannot afford to be casual with what enters your spirit. Every conversation, every image, every lyric, every voice you allow access is either pushing you toward your assignment or pulling you away from it. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can simply distract you. He doesn't need to tear you down if he can just slip in a whisper that makes you question your worth. That's why mental discipline isn't optional, it's essential. A strong mind is not built by accident. It's built by intention, by repetition, by spiritual discernment. You must guard your inner world with the same ferocity a soldier guards the gates of a city under siege. Some people are not bad, they're just bad for your purpose. Some ideas are not evil, they're just not aligned with your calling. And the moment you allow misaligned voices to become loud in your life, you begin to entertain confusion, and confusion breeds compromise. Compromise invites delay, and delay robs you of destiny. That's why you got to become ruthless about what you allow into your atmosphere. Protect your peace like it's your currency. Protect your focus like it's sacred ground, because it is. You can't be a warrior in public and a victim in private. If your inner world is chaotic, your outer world will eventually collapse under the weight of it. And so you must build a filter, a kingdom filter. Is this feeding my faith or draining it? Is this fueling my fire or pulling me away? A strong mind takes inventory. It audits its influences. It silences unnecessary noise. It knows that peace is not found in the absence of noise, but in the presence of order. When your thoughts are submitted to God's truth, when your inner dialogue matches your divine identity, then you walk in clarity that scares people. Because the world is confused, the culture is loud, but a kingdom mind walks with quiet authority. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your boundaries. You just need to maintain them. Because when you protect the gate of your mind, you give yourself the power to think clearly, move wisely, and live boldly. You were never meant to be at the mercy of opinions, trends, or temptations. You were meant to govern your thought life like a king governs his territory, with conviction, with courage, and with clarity. So protect it, because everything that matters flows from it. And the moment you stop guarding your mind is the moment the enemy starts planting seeds. But when your mind is fortified, when it's locked in and led by vision, there is no voice loud enough to derail you. Train in a dark to lead in a light. That's not a cliche, it's a law of greatness. a law of destiny. Every public triumph you see was once a private test. Before the crowd cheered, there was a cross carried. Before the platform, there was a process. We live in a culture obsessed with visibility, followers, fame, likes, attention. But let me tell you something. Greatness is never born in the spotlight. It's born in the secret place. It's not who you are when the cameras are on. It's who you are when nobody is clapping, nobody is calling, and the only voice you hear is God's whisper telling you to keep going. The dark seasons, the lonely nights, the early mornings, the quiet sacrifices. These are the proving grounds. That's where you discover your true strength. It's easy to show up when everyone's watching. But who are you when no one sees? Can you be faithful without applause? Can you stay committed without confirmation? That's the test. Because if you only move when there's recognition, you're not walking in purpose. You're feeding your pride. But when you're willing to grind in the shadows, to sharpen your gift when no one's giving you credit, that's when heaven takes notice. God never wastes preparation. He develops his leaders in obscurity. Moses was in the desert. David was in the field. Jesus was in the wilderness. If you want to lead in the light, you must be trained in the dark. It's in the dark that discipline is developed. Not flashy routines, real, unshakable spiritual discipline. You don't wait for motivation, you move with intention. You get up even when you're tired. You study even when you're distracted. You pray even when you don't feel like it. That's how mental strength is built. Not through inspiration, but through repetition. The ones who rise are the ones who kept showing up when quitting made more sense. They didn't just hope, they built. They didn't just wish, they worked. They didn't just talk about destiny. They trained for it in silence, while others slept, while others played, while others doubted. And hear me, you will be tempted to think it's all for nothing. You will question the value of your hidden obedience. But God is watching. Your future is watching. Your assignment is watching. And what you do in private will echo in your public impact. Every tear, every effort, every sacrifice, it's building something eternal. The greatest leaders, the most powerful minds, the most unshakable people you will ever meet are those who were crushed before they were crowned. Their strength didn't come from applause, it came from pressure. Their wisdom didn't come from books alone, it came from battles no one else saw. So train when it's hard. Train when you're lonely. Train when it seems no one cares. Because your moment will come. And when the light hits you, you won't just show up. You'll stand strong. You'll be ready. Because you were forged, not fabricated. Built, not borrowed. You trained in the dark, and now you lead in the light. Emotion is a gift, but when undisciplined, it becomes a prison. A strong mind knows how to feel deeply, but decide wisely. You don't respond to pressure. You respond to principle. When the storm hits, people panic, but a strong mind stands still because it's not reacting to circumstances, it's anchored in conviction. And when your mind is anchored, no wave can capsize you. The truth is, most people live their lives at the mercy of their emotions. They wake up happy, they perform well. They wake up discouraged, they shrink. Their life becomes a roller coaster of inconsistency because they have never learned to separate how they feel from what they must do. But greatness does not answer to feelings. Purpose does not check your emotional temperature before it moves forward. Destiny demands that you rise above the fleeting tides of emotion and step into the unchanging foundation of principle. If you only move when you feel like it, you will miss every divine appointment God has scheduled in discomfort. Emotion was never meant to be your master. It was designed to be your signal. It tells you something is happening, but it must not dictate your decisions. If Jesus operated on emotion in Gethsemane, the cross would have never happened. He felt the pressure, he felt the agony, but he submitted to purpose. That is the blueprint of power. Feel it, acknowledge it, but don't let it guide you. Maturity is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of it. It's when you can weep and still worship, bleed and still build, be betrayed and still bless. There is power in the pause between reaction and response. That's where wisdom lives. A strong mind takes a breath before speaking, considers before acting, and prays before deciding. The immature scream back. The mature strategize in silence. Because your next level is too expensive to be forfeited by a temporary feeling. People who build empires don't let mood swings write their blueprints. Leaders who shift nations don't crumble under criticism. They operate from conviction, not comfort. Your feelings are real, but they are not facts. Your emotions are intense, but they are not always accurate. That's why your mind must be rooted in truth, not social media, not gossip, not your circle's opinion. Truth. Because when the storm comes, and it will come, you cannot afford to be moved by the winds of feeling. You must be held by the anchor of eternal principles. That's how battles are won. Not by brute strength, not by noise, but by inner stillness. By a mind trained not to flinch when fear knocks, not to fold when disappointment strikes, not to fall apart when rejection shows up. God cannot use a mind that crumbles under pressure. He's looking for those who can stand in the fire and not lose clarity, who can walk through betrayal and not lose vision, who can hear the roar of chaos and still say, I will not move. Because when your mind is rooted in principle, peace becomes your strategy and wisdom becomes your weapon. That is the strength that scares people and honors God. Embrace solitude, not as a punishment, but as a powerful environment for transformation. Weak minds crave noise because noise is a distraction. Noise keeps you from confronting the truth about where you are, what you've neglected, and what you need to change. It drowns out conviction. But strong minds, minds that rise above mediocrity, understand that silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of God. It's in the stillness that divine instructions are whispered, that the blueprint of your next level is unveiled. People run from solitude because they are afraid of themselves. They're afraid of what they'll find when there's no one to impress, no one to perform for, and no screen to hide behind. But if you keep running from yourself, you'll never run into your calling. Solitude strips away the distractions and forces you to confront the raw, unfiltered version of who you are. And that's exactly where growth begins. It's in those moments when you are alone, when your back is against the wall and nobody is clapping, that the strongest revelations are born. Don't confuse solitude with isolation. Isolation is the absence of connection, but solitude is the presence of intention. Isolation disconnects you from life, but solitude reconnects you with purpose. When you step into solitude with intention, you step into the workshop of the mind. That's where the clutter is cleared. That's where your thinking is purified. That's where vision is sharpened and distractions are cut off at the root. God doesn't speak in chaos, He speaks in clarity. And clarity requires space. That space is found in solitude. Too many people avoid being alone because they're addicted to validation. They constantly need someone to tell them who they are, what to do, and how to feel. But until you learn to affirm yourself in silence, you'll always be a slave to noise. A strong mind doesn't need constant affirmation. It creates its own rhythm. It doesn't wait to be told what's possible. It hears the whisper of destiny in the stillness and moves with conviction. You can't build that kind of mind in a crowd. You build it in the secret place. The place of prayer, the place of reflection, the place of deliberate quietness, where you hear yourself think and hear God speak. The world is loud, but your future demands quiet. The world is fast, but your destiny requires stillness. Don't rush through life trying to fill every empty space with noise. Instead, learn to sit, to listen, to process. Solitude is not a pause from life, it is the preparation for purpose. It is in solitude that God teaches you how to think with clarity, speak with wisdom, and act with power. When you embrace solitude, you're not retreating from the world, you're sharpening your mind to transform it. Because the one who can sit still and be unshaken in silence is the one who will stand tall and be unmovable in purpose. Submit your mind to the kingdom purpose. That's where power becomes purity. That's where clarity becomes conviction. You can be brilliant, you can be strategic, you can be disciplined, but if your mind isn't aligned with the will of God, all that strength becomes directionless. It becomes potential without production. It becomes energy without execution. You don't just need a sharp mind, you need a surrendered one. Is your mind sayers? Because a mind that is full of knowledge but void of purpose is like a ship with no compass. It may move fast, but it will never arrive. You must decide today that your intellect, your focus, your mental toughness will not be for the applause of men, but for the assignment of heaven. There's a divine blueprint for your life, a master plan etched in eternity, and your mind must come under that vision if you're going to walk in true impact. The kingdom doesn't need more clever thinkers. It needs more submitted minds. Minds that don't just seek to rise, but seek to serve. Minds that don't just chase success, but pursue significance. When your mind is under God's government, you start operating from survival and start operating from strategy. You stop reacting to problems and start responding with purpose. You stop being moved by fear and start being led by faith. Submission is not weakness, it is wisdom. You are not giving up your mind when you submit it to God. You are giving it back to its rightful owner. You are returning the instrument to the one who created it. And when God governs your thinking, He also governs your outcomes. That's why people with a kingdom-light mind move differently. They speak with authority. They stand with confidence. They don't chase opportunity, they attract it. Because when the mind is aligned, favor flows without force. Doors open without manipulation. Battles are won without compromise. The reason some people's strength intimidates others is not because they are loud, but because they are anchored. They are steady in storms. They are calm under pressure. They are unshaken in chaos. That's the power of kingdom alignment. It gives you peace that surpasses understanding and strategy that surpasses education. This kind of mental strength doesn't come from motivational quotes. It comes from consecration. It comes from submission. It comes from saying, Lord, not my will, but yours be done, even in how I think, plan, and respond. So today, choose alignment over ambition. Choose surrender over stress. Let your mind be ruled by the principles of heaven, not the pressures of earth. Because when your mind is ruled by the kingdom, your life becomes a testimony of divine order, and the world cannot manipulate what God has already mastered. That's how you build a mind that not only scares people, but empowers them, uplifts them, and transforms them. Not because it's loud, but because it's led. Not because it's smart, but because it's submitted. You want to build a mind so strong it scares people? Then stop asking for comfort and start demanding clarity. Stop seeking applause and start seeking purpose. Don't shrink to fit their fear. Stand to reflect your calling, because a kingdom mind doesn't just survive the world, it reconstructs it. And hear me aloud. When your mind is strong, your future is unstoppable. When your mind is anchored, your path is unshakable. And when your mind is surrendered, your influence is undeniable. So don't just build a mind that impresses people. Build a mind that commands heaven.